Back once again with Taylor Bradford of the Gloucester Daily Times. We're going to get right into things now because, Taylor, we're going to lead with the investigation into the mayor's office on what has been really been an ongoing situation for months now.
Yeah, so an outside investigator was hired by the city to review complaints filed against the mayor in recent months by three different employees of the city. And the results that the outside investigator found were that the mayor did not violate any laws, but has violated multiple city rules and standards of conduct. Now, this all came out of a press release that the mayor's office sent out on Tuesday afternoon, and it announced that Regina Ryan was the attorney who did this investigation on behalf of the city. And in this investigation, she sought out to look at the different complaints that were filed by the harbor master, TJ Chimataro, community development director, Jill Cahill, and former HR director, Donna Leet. And these are the kind of complaints that we have written about in former stories, and we've had letters to the editors from Donna Leet about her own case. And that review concluded that evidence did not support the claims of legal violations by the mayor, but that she did violate the city's standards for professional communication in the workplace by using profane language. So we remember in former stories how there had been accusations that she had used quite profane language against city employees, about other people. And so in the summary of findings and recommendations that Ryan had published, it kind of outlined, that that was a violation. And in addition, they also found that the mayor also violated city personnel confidentiality rules by discussing a complaint during an in-person meeting with the complaining parties present, and by discussing job performances with other employees. And that one directly correlates to Donna Leet's situation, where she had talked about how she had found out that the mayor had talked about her work quality and her performance in a meeting prior to her leaving. So these different findings can all be found on our website. With that has the press release and kind of the summary of findings. Again, we're still looking to find out if that summary that came with the press release is the exact replica of Ryan's actual full report, or if that's a summary done by somebody else. So again, still looking into that and seeing the specificities of kind of where these things are coming from. But it did note kind of what Ryan's suggestions for next steps are. She had a quite extensive list of kind of what the city can do to go forward in this whole process as the investigation. And she stated that that in concluding that the mayor had violated the city rules and standards, that if disciplinary action can be taken against the mayor, then some punitive action is appropriate for her violations of policy. She stressed, however, that that was a separate legal issue that her report did not address. And so I know that the city is working on doing a lot of trainings, and I don't know about any punitive actions or disciplinary actions, but there was note that the mayor is going to attend a lot of different meetings and trainings to work on kind of workplace management and appropriate behavior. And Ryan also did state that to ensure similar violations don't happen again, she advised that all city employees take those trainings on harassment, receive and sign policies for code of conduct and anti-harassment at each time of appointment or election, receive training on the code of conduct and effective communication, and receive instruction on how to whom they can report unprofessional conduct by the city officials. And I reached out to Holly Doug Willow, who is the former HR director, yesterday, and she sent me the code of conduct that the city mayor's office has just finished, that kind of outlines how elected officials and appointees will follow. I know that the city council also approved a code of conduct for the city council this past Tuesday, and that will get voted on by approval by next year's city council. And so that's a lot of kind of the details of how they're going to go forward. And I think something to note too is the mayor's response in the press release, and a prepared statement was published by the mayor that stated that she accepts the professional findings on employee complaints and pledged to expand sensitivity training and respectful workplaces initiative. And I quote, "I deeply regret my choice of language and any other violations found in these findings. While the pandemic crisis has challenged us all to change how we work, having a commitment to the highest standards remains a necessity." End quote. So that's kind of what we have right now. Again, here at the Gloucester Daily Times, we're doing a lot of follow-up, trying to understand more of the specificities of what's going on with this case. And as you know, TJ has filed a lawsuit. Donna Lee is retired, and Jill Cahill continues to work within the city. So, and so does TJ. So it's a continued conversation as, this does not end here. And what does it look like for these three individuals, especially as they noted that they have not received the full report from Ryan yet. So they haven't even seen the report that kind of lists these things out. The only thing that they have seen is the press release and the summary of findings and recommendations that was published on the mayor's Facebook page earlier on Tuesday.
Taylor, where do we stand with the health department complaints against the mayor?
That's a great question. So we had done a story maybe a week ago, that the mayor's lawyer had sent out an email clarifying that while the mayor does not accept all of the accusations and allegations made against her by the health department in terms of her involvement with COVID kind of response, she does note that she will stop interfering with the health department's response to COVID-19 in a listed number of ways. Now, I don't have those memorized, but you can find those on our website for more details of kind of what her lawyer stated on her behalf in regards to that particular situation. But again, I think these things might be a little bit separate unless the four all come together and say these are all connected. But as of right now, those are, I think, two separate instances. We have these three with complaints and one kind of with a complaint about her involvement with COVID-19. But again, they're all our complaints. I just know, or as far as we know in the Gloucester Daily Times, the health department director has not filed a formal complaint with the city's HR department.
Well, great reporting. And I will note that your reporting even made it into John Keller's master list. I saw it there. You got a shout out from him.
All right, sticking with City Hall, Taylor, former elected official Greg Verga has had a change of heart.
Yeah, so Greg Verga had pulled out papers for one of the 4 at-large city council seats that is open for this upcoming November's election, but he decided to shift gears on, guess what, Tuesday, to run for mayor instead. So I spoke with him Tuesday right after the workday, and he had mentioned, he, after talking to his family members, as he was seeking support for his run at large city councilor, everyone's saying, why don't you run for mayor? And Berger, who has tried to do it once before in 2015, said, he feels like he really has had enough time out of the political sphere to kind of come back in and make a difference. So Greg is running for mayor, and he's really emphasized that he thinks that Gloucester needs a reset button, and that he's emphasized that he will lead by example to revive a sense of professionalism at City Hall and set a tone of respect and collaboration among all city employees, in addition to appointed and elected officials. And so the things that I know that he noted in a press release that his team published on Tuesday is that he will prioritize more transparency in government decision-making and spending, carefully manage the potential consolidation of elementary schools, analyze traffic issues and develop creative, realistic solutions, provide safe, modern facilities for Gloucester's police and fire departments, and lastly, to ensure that all new hires are qualified for their positions by experience and education. So those are a lot of very timely things. I think he's pointing to a lot of different things that we've all talked about.
Right. The checklist for today. Yeah.
Right. But I think a thing to note is I asked him, I said, what have you been doing in the interim? You're a longtime city council and school committee member. You run for mayor before, 5 years out of the game. What have you been doing? And he said, in the past 5 years, he's had 2 grandchildren. He's played in a couple bands, released a couple EPs. So, he said, I asked him what type of music he plays. And he said, it's a little bit of alternative. And so, in addition to seeking, a place in politics, he's also quite the musician. So we'll see, he joins a gamut of candidates in our upcoming mayor's election. So I think it's going to be quite the conversation this year. We'll see what ends up happening in November.
All right, sounds great, Taylor. Thanks for the check-in, and we will see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.